And joining in studio now is Mr. Sterling Scott. He is the CEO of GrowLife Incorporated. PHOT is their stock symbol. Sterling, good to see you again.
Delighted to be back, Don. Thank you.
You know, a lot has happened that affects your industry since you and I last spoke. A couple states have joined the bandwagon, so to speak. Vermont has decriminalized marijuana, and Nevada has okayed the opening of medical marijuana dispensaries. So this this movement that we've been following very closely, really since last year, continues.
It has tremendous momentum. There are as many as I think the number now is about 16 states that have active regulatory reform initiatives that are in place, are in some part of the process. Have we reached a tipping point? Yes, I think we have. Relatively soon, our estimation is that there will be a majority of states that have in place some form of medical marijuana acceptance. I think it was also interesting that it's definitely momentum, significant momentum, and my sources in a few other states that include my mother, who does polling in the fine state of Arkansas, is convinced that even in a state like Arkansas, that the acceptance of medical applications is likely to be ratified by the voters fairly at the next opportunity.
Well, it's interesting because politicians are beginning to jump on the bandwagon too, because they're seeing obviously a revenue possibility. I think we've mentioned on the program before, the federal government spends about $20 billion a year making marijuana illegal, where they could probably generate about $80 billion a year in tax revenue and licensing revenue. So it's probably helped during this movement that we've been stuck kind of in a floundering economy.
Well, I think there's no doubt about that. There is a significant savings that's available to state and local governments and the federal government by standing down some of the more out of line prosecution, which to a large extent is no longer in the mainstream. It's not politically acceptable.
Right.
And there are aspects of it that clearly, are troubling. Disproportionately, the prosecutions for relatively minor marijuana offenses, whether they're truly medical or recreational, have disproportionately across the country fallen on African Americans.
Well, we can't afford as a society to throw people in jail for possession of small amounts of marijuana. I mean, in California just this week, a judge told the governor, you got to let 10,000 felons go because we don't have the money to house them. But, there's all kinds of financial pressure that seems to really be helping your industry move along in this transformation, or I'll call it reform, so to speak.
The tax and regulate model is being refined, and it has a great deal of potential. I believe it's correct to say that I spent 3-4 days out in Colorado recently, and to the extent I believe that most of the revenue from the taxation side of medical marijuana in Colorado is dedicated to schools. And I would expect a lot of other states to take that kind of approach, that there are some important underfunded parts of our society that can be more fairly or more reasonably funded, even in tough economic times, by a sensible tax and regulate model.
Now, something I want to touch on, we're almost out of time, but I know you just begun some operations in New Hampshire. Tell us quickly about that.
Oh yeah, it's very exciting for us. We're growing in a lot of different ways. We recently completed an acquisition of a company that has quite a strong presence in Colorado and in the Northeast in brick and mortar stores and some online stores. Their most recent store opening just occurred, and that's in Placerto, New Hampshire. And for those that don't know that area, it's roughly, when the traffic's good, Don, it's probably 20 minutes from Boston.
Okay.
So, you know, there are a lot of our larger customers would prefer to avoid the 8% sales tax impact. So they'll cross over the border. This has been going on with all industries for years. But if you're coming in with a $20,000 to $50,000 order, you might want to take the short trip from our Boston area stores up to New Hampshire and avoid 8% sales tax.
The slogan in New Hampshire is "Live free or die."
Live free or die.
GrowLife Incorporated, PHOT. Exciting developments, Sterling. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me back, Don.
Take care.
You too.